boogity, boogity, get up on your feet.
Ha 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 ha. Welcome to another edition of the DW Show. And look, am I happy? You got that right. I am really happy. You know why? Because we're off to a great start. This season, this is going to be one for the... how can you beat last year, right? I mean, the championship is decided on a tiebreaker, 18 different winners, 5 first-time winners. I mean, how do you beat that? I don't know how you're going to bet, but I bet we do. And you know why? Because of there's so much energy in this sport right now. People are excited. They're genuinely excited about going to the next race. I mean, people stayed, they left Phoenix and went straight to Vegas. Well, maybe that's not a good comparison because people want to go to Vegas anyway, but that's where everybody, they left Phoenix, go straight to Vegas. That Monday night race was awesome. I mean, I think it really opened the eyes to a lot of people, TV people, fans, and NASCAR. Monday night is an acceptable big sporting event night. People, they are accustomed to watching Monday Night Football. So when you say we're going to have a race on Monday night, sure. I mean, everybody's all for it, and it worked out great. Highest rated Daytona 500 we'd had in years. The most watched Daytona 500 we've had in years. So that really worked out good, and it was on Monday night, and of course, the energy just carried right over to Phoenix. You know what Phoenix is? You know what it means? You know Harry Potter movies? The Phoenix, he rises from the ashes. He dies, and he rises from the ashes. Guess who did that? Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs Racing Team, last year, I mean, they were disappointing. The cars didn't run well. They had engine issues. Certainly what happened with Kyle at the end of the year, that place was in bad shape. But on the off season, like a good coach would do, he revamped, he rebuilt, he re-energized. And Joe Gibbs Racing right now, they're on the top of their game. Joey Logano, in a contract year, has had 2 great races right out of the box. Denny Hamlin, who, quite honestly, folks, from 2011, he just could not get over what happened to him in 2010, losing the championship. He never got his mojo back. And he had that hangover from not winning the championship. It demoralized him. And it took all of his joy away. But man, Joe Gibbs made a change in the offseason. He brings in Darian Grubb. Do you know who Darian Grubb is? Well, you should. If you don't, you should. Let me tell you why. Because in the last 12 races, you know who's been the orchestrator of 6 wins out of the last 12 races? Darian Grubb. That's incredible. Here's something I really like. He didn't leave. He and Tony Stewart didn't part company because Darian wasn't doing his job. They didn't part company because Darian cost Tony a championship. They parted company because, quite honestly, they just didn't match. The chemistry wasn't good. They didn't communicate well together. They communicated well enough together to win a championship, but there was just something missing between the 2 personalities. So Darian leaves Tony and goes to Joe Gibbs. He left Tony on good terms. Tony and he were buddies when he left, and that's a great way to leave a team. You left them in championship form, everything in place, bring in Addington and roll right on. And I think that's a good move because right off, Tony wins, he wins one of the qualifying races at Daytona. He ran good at Daytona, had some problems late in the race, got in a wreck, but nonetheless, good chemistry there. Darian goes over with Denny Hamlin. They match. If you knew these 2 guys like I do, they have similar personalities. They match. And it was obvious right off. I mean, look how Hamlin ran at Daytona. He finished 4th. They go to Phoenix, and he wins the race. So good move by the coach to raise his team from the ashes. The Phoenix flies again. And that team's going to be hard to deal with all year long. Another team that really bounced back. I mean, right now the 48 team was in shambles when they left Daytona. Their crew chiefs been fined and pending a suspension. They're on appeal of that fine and suspension. The car got wrecked on the first lap of the Daytona 500. They go to Phoenix. They're negative points. They got fined 25 points at Daytona. He goes to Phoenix, 23 points in the hole. I mean, how do you overcome that? He knows, and I know, and Chad Canals knows. You go out there and you try to win the race. You don't get down. You don't get discouraged. You go out there and you try to win the race. And they did a great job all weekend long. He qualified well, had the fastest car early in the race. Had some problems in the pits, overcame that, and still came home with a top 5 finish. That's how you overcome negative points. I really think that Jimmy and Chad are on a mission. They're on a mission to get that 5th championship, but also, or the 6th championship, but also on a mission to get their mojo back. Because they got off, they went in different directions last year. Their communication wasn't good. They weren't getting along that great. But in the off season, another great car owner, Rick Hendrick, got them together. I don't know if they had cookies and milk or not. They are pretty much used. They have done that before. If you're going to act like kids, we're going to treat you like kids. I think that team will really be impressive the rest of the year. There's a number of other teams that I thought made great change off season. Kevin Harvick, bringing in Shane Wilson. Shane Wilson was with Clint Boyer, and Shane Wilson and Kevin have worked together before in the Nationwide car. And Kevin had a great car at Daytona and again at Phoenix as well. I think that's a great marriage. So these car owners are pretty smart. They sit back and they look at, they don't necessarily always look at talent. I think they look at more, you know, what do coaches look for? They look for players with heart. And they look for players that are team players. And I think these owners are pretty smart. Jack Roush, Richard Childress, Rick Hendrick, Roger Penske, you know, and Joe Gibbs, Ganassi. These guys are smart. And they're not successful by sitting back and just being status quo. Chip Ganassi overhauled his place. He said everybody in the sport was mad at him because he hired a guy from Hendrick, hired a guy from Gibbs, got one from Childress, got one from Hendrick. He said that all the owners are upset with him. But he had to do it. And Jack Roush, they go to Daytona with those Fords, and they were bad fast. But just remember, Robert Yates and Doug Yates, ever since I've known the Yates, Robert and Doug both, they have fast cars at Daytona. Can they parlay that into fast cars everywhere else? Well, maybe. We'll see. Carl didn't look very good at Phoenix. Greg Biffle looked okay, but had some issues. There were a number of, Matt Kenseth wrecked his car in practice, had to go to a backup car. So we'll see how things shake out for the Roush guys. But cutting back to just 3 teams could be the secret to their success in the future. I think that might make them stronger. So a lot of things going on. The sport is really, really on a roll right now. One other thing, safety. You know, that truck jet dryer getting run into and exploding at Daytona. NASCAR is taking a long, hard look at how to make that jet dryer going around the racetrack under caution, make that a safer situation. They're talking about a trailing car now to trail along behind, because you say, well, what good is that going to do? Well, with lights flashing and another vehicle there, it'll get the driver's attention. I tell you, as a driver, I've come out of the pits, I'm so focused on that I'm getting up to speed, trying to catch up to the back of the field fast as I can go, and I said, whoa, man, there was a safety truck. I didn't even see it. So putting the car out there with flashing lights and a little more protection. The safety workers in the truck itself are going to wear helmets and uniforms now. So safety is a moving target. Always remember that. Every time we go to the racetrack, a car goes off somewhere we never saw it go off before and hits something we've never seen it hit before. So that's why the drivers have always complained about put safer barriers everywhere. Outside, inside, wherever you got a wall, put a safer barrier. Because these race cars, and obviously even under caution, can find things to hit that we just never thought of. So always working on trying to make things safer, make things better. That's NASCAR's job, and they do great. They do a great job of it. I'm excited. I want to go to Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. Vegas is fun. You know, there's so much energy in that town. And when we go there, everybody has fun, and it's a show, and the neon garage, and the night lights of Vegas. It's just a great place to go and have fun, and not a bad place to go for a race either. It should be exciting. Look forward to seeing you out there. Watch me and Michael on the pre-race show Sunday. Double trouble. Maybe we can find some trouble when we get to Vegas.